Hey fans, welcome to my baseball podcast straight out of Sacramento. Curveballs and changeups. No straight fastballs here, folks. Just a bunch of off-speed pitches to keep the hitters off balance. Maybe a few cutters and some riding heat just to keep you honest. In today's curveballs and changeups, I'll take a look at the automatic balls and strikes system and one particular catcher's beef with it. And I'll weigh in just a bit on the Department of Defense's explosive attempt to erase Jackie Robinson from its history. This is a podcast for Giants and A's fans, offering analysis and offbeat takes on what's going on in baseball. In my most recent episode, for instance, I took a deep dive into how analytics have taken some of the fun out of the game, or as the Washington Post had it, ruins the aesthetics of the game. I went back and looked at the analytics industry's original sin, the 100 pitch count limit, and how one game exemplified the ridiculousness of that pitch count. It was October 2014, Washington Nationals manager Matt Williams blowing a huge playoff game against the San Francisco Giants. I went blow by blow on that one, and I hope you can go back to that episode and take a listen. Also had a look at the epidemic in strikeouts that has overtaken the game in so many ways. Just a little bit about myself. I played the game. I once hit a grand slam home run in over 30 baseball. I covered baseball as a sports writer in the 1980s and early 90s. I've been a baseball fan since 1968 when the kids down the block introduced the Giants to me and my brothers. The next year, my dad took me to my first Major League game at the Oakland Coliseum to watch the A's, and I was hooked on both teams. But I do have to have a caveat here, and that is that as a former sports writer, I always went by the whole adage of no cheering in the press box, and you won't hear me saying me and we when I talk about the Giants and A's. I try to look at them a little more dispassionately than the typical fan. All right, first some news and notes on the A's front. Just this week, Luis Severino was named opening day starter, and that'll happen. The opening day happens in less than a week now, although, of course, we had opening day for baseball, and that was when the Dodgers and Cubs went overseas to Tokyo to play their first two games. Right in the middle of spring training, they resumed their spring training after that. It just seems strange to have regular season baseball right in the middle of spring training. This start for Severino is his first opening day start since 2018 when he was with the New York Yankees. He's had kind of a mediocre spring so far. He's given up 6 earned runs in 9 innings in over 3 starts. The last start he had was March 15th, and he gave up 3 earned runs in 4 innings against Texas. He starts again today, and that might be his last before opening day. Martin Gallegos of the MLB.com A's beat reports that the final spot in the rotation is coming down to Joey Estes and Mitch Spence. But that might have been premature because Estes was clobbered in his most recent start, gave up 8 earned runs, 11 hits in 5 innings. His ERA is now at 7.56. And Spence, in the same game, went 2 scoreless innings, striking out 4. I mean, of course, it's just a spring training game, and I think managers look for certain things out of the pitchers rather than just the numbers and the results. But it wasn't a good last start for Estes. And another little surprise was J.T. Ginn was sent to AAA Las Vegas. He did have a really nice last outing, struck out 7 in 4 innings with just 1 walk. But his first couple of starts, he had walked 8 in 13 innings. So manager Kotze decided that he wanted to give him a little more work. His quote was that that was an exceptional last start. We know what he's capable of. It's nice to have the depth, just not enough room right now on the staff. One surprising addition to the 8-man bullpen, Justin Sterner. This guy was claimed off the waivers from the Rays, and he's done so well in spring training that he made it to the bullpen. He struck out 14 no earned runs in 9 2/3 innings. Kotze said throughout camp he's gotten better and better, and it's really difficult to turn away that kind of production and talent. I mean, he's got an amazing fastball. So he'll start out in the bullpen on opening day for the A's. Breaking news, Brent Rooker hit his first home run of the spring and starting to catch fire just a bit. He's had 5 ribbies over the last 4 games, 3 for 10, after a really terrible start. Of course, nobody really worries about Brent Rooker. I think he is an established star who will be ready to go by opening day. Lawrence Butler is also heating back up. He started out, really strong. Remember, he had 9 hits in his first 16 at bats, but went cold for a while. 1 for 12 over 4 games. But now in his last 4 games, he's gone 5 for 12 with two doubles and a triple. So now he's tied for 9th in Cactus League in hits with 15. So he's definitely on track to start the season. And now one little surprise on the roster was the A's are going with Johnny Pereda as the backup catcher. He's the guy who made his first trip to the majors last year with the Marlins after 11 years in the minors. He had a 20-game cup of coffee last year, hitting .231, but hit .297 in AAA last year, and he'll be the backup catcher. And another minor upset, C.J. Alexander was sent to Las Vegas. A lot of fans were hoping he'd stick. He was just struggling in spring training, hitting only .138, 4 for 29. I think a lot of fans saw his promise when he hit .302 and 19 home runs in the minor leagues, but most of that was at the AA level. He may still need a little more time at the AAA level. Excuse me. The phenom shortstop Jacob Wilson had a 2-home run day earlier this week against Seattle. Now has 4. I think that's tied for the lead league in Cactus League. He's putting the ball in play. He hasn't walked once, but he's struck out only twice in 44 plate appearances. So, and I don't mind that at all. If he's not walking, if he's hitting, and if he's not striking out, he's making things happen. That's what you want. And I looked Jacob Wilson up. I knew he was good, but I didn't realize he hit .433 in the minors last year. Now, of course, that only happened over 208 at-bats, and it was across 3 levels in the minor leagues. But, that's hard to do at any level for sustained level. And he's actually an over 400 hitter in his 2 years in the minor league. So that is definitely a bat that has potential and promise, and we shall see how that unfolds. The A's have 2 non-roster invitees remaining in the major league camp, outfielder Drew Avens and infielder Max Muncy. Neither have major league service time, so it'll be quite a thrill for either of them if they can make it on the opening day roster. Over to the Giants, big news on the mound. Jordan Hicks, he was struggling most of the spring, although, it was only over 6 2/3 innings. But there were questions, especially with the performance of some of the younger starting pitching prospects. There were questions whether Hicks was the right choice for the number 4 slot in the rotation. Well, he quieted some of that criticism by going 5 2/3 innings in his last outing, giving up only 1 earned run, 3 hits, continued the theme of no walks. He had no walks. The Giants staff, remember, leads the Cactus League in the fewest walks, and it's become a huge theme for the Giants pitchers, especially the starting pitchers. So Jordan Hicks's ERA for the spring training is down to 5.84. Not great, of course, but the last start, if you're going to the 6th inning in spring training and doing as well as he did, that is a great sign heading into the season. Some little news here. Giants extended the contracts of Mike Krukow and Dwayne Kuiper through 2026. No, Krukow is not going back to the mound. Kuiper is not getting back on the infield dirt. They are going to continue at the microphone. And as the best duo in baseball, I've always felt that Mike Krukow was the best baseball analyst, just from the perspective of the humor he brings and the lightheartedness he brings to a situation in baseball. Just the savvy and the great insights that he has. And I think he makes Duane Kuiper as good as he is. Kuiper on his own, I'm sorry to say, would just be a dime a dozen. Former ball player trying to make it at the broadcast booth, but Krukow elevates his game. And so it's great to see the two extended through 2026. They both said that they hope to continue well past that. In fact, Krukow said that he wants to broadcast till he dies. And of course, Krukow has had difficulty health-wise, so is unable to make road trips, but he will join Kuiper from the studio for many of the road games that Kuiper will broadcast. So that's great news. Okay, I wanted to get on to the main topic, and that is Patrick Bailey, catcher for the San Francisco Giants, and his gripe with ABS, the automatic balls and strikes system that the major leagues are testing this spring. Don't plan to bring it into the league this year, but all signs are pointing to the system being implemented into the league in 2026. Excuse me. Andrew Baggerly of The Athletic had a really nice piece going over Bailey's perspective on it, but also had some great quotes from Buster Posey and others on the topic. The story appeared in the New York Times, which is interesting. I mean, just for folks who may not know, New York Times do not have any sports writers anymore. They just run all the athletic articles in their publication. So Patrick Bailey is considered the most skilled framer in major leagues. And he's the one who pulls borderline strikes into the strike zone and has been rewarded for it. He won the Golden Glove last year as a catcher for the first time, basically based on his performance as the pitch framer. He led the league in the highest percentage of shadow strikes or pitches on the edge that were called strikes that could otherwise have been called balls. His percentage was at 52.6%, much higher than anybody else. And that's the one thing that has separated him from all of the other catchers. So Bailey was very vocal in this piece, saying that he is not a fan at all of the idea of implementing an automatic balls and strike system, which would take away the edge that he has in framing pitches. He said, quote, "I think it's going to change the game a lot more than people realize. It's going to take a lot of the value away from defensive catchers. I don't think it's going to be good for the game. It won't be good for umpires, and they have enough scrutiny already. They have the hardest job on the field and do a pretty dang good job, so they're under the microscope even more, too. Yeah, no, not a fan, not a fan." Well, that's a pretty self-serving statement from Bailey. I mean, obviously Bailey relies on deceiving the umpires that he's seen here complimenting. I mean, his whole game is fooling the umpire into believing that the pitch that he's just caught out of the strike zone is a strike. So he's going to butter up the umpires and make it feel like they're under attack, when really an automatic balls and strike system would supplement the game that the umpires have. Major League Baseball officials say that a challenge-based system will only slightly diminish the impact of those pitch framing skills. They say hitters are likely still to hesitate risking a challenge in the early innings or early in counts, so Bailey will still have the opportunity to fool the umpires with his framing. That's interesting. Baggerly quoted extensively a former catcher who you probably don't remember. His name was Tyler Flowers. The only thing he was ever known for was framing pitches, and he's the one who kind of popularized the idea of the one-knee setup, where catchers are behind the plate and they get way down on one knee so that the umpire can get a better view of the low pitch. And so that's fine. Heck, Tyler Flowers can be credited with revolutionizing the game behind the plate. But there have been a lot of side effects to this. And one of them is something I'll bring up in just a minute that Buster Posey talks about. And that is, not being able to catch the ball because they're so focused on framing it. But before I do, I wanted to say that, Bailey does have supporters in this, especially his pitching staff. Both Logan Webb and Tyler Rogers were quoted in this story, and they're big Bailey fans. Rogers was quoted as saying, "It's nice knowing that if you throw one in the gray area, you're more than likely going to get that call." And Logan Webb said, for a pitcher like him who throws a lot of sinkers and different kinds of pitches, a catcher like Bailey can make the difference in his game. It'll be interesting to see, next year if they do implement the ABS system, how it might affect a pitcher like Logan Webb, who does pitch on the edge and does get calls that are pulled back into the strike zone that might have been in the shadow area. Now Bailey's interesting. He is funny. He is a perfectionist in the game of deception. So, and it's reflected in his quote. He said this. He said, "The most important thing I can do as a catcher is keep a strike a strike." So I want to stop right there. If it's a strike and it's a strike and the ABS system recognizes it as a strike, then what is your beef with the ABS system? So he went on to say, "Maybe you get lazy on a mislocation and let it drag across the zone and it's called a ball. That means I've got to get a ball framed as a strike to get back to even. With the ABS and challenge system, I think a lot of people are disregarding how good umpires are and how hard it is. I'm just trying to give them the best picture possible." What a salesman. So if in the ABS system, if you're a catcher and you get lazy on a mislocation and let it drag across the zone and it's called a ball, the ABS system actually will give you the break and call it what it was if it was a strike. So that Bailey makes me laugh because he's trying to maintain his relationship with the umpires and maintain whatever advantage he gets with his ball framing. So here's Buster Posey. Posey, he kind of sees through all that too, and he was quoted extensively in this article, and you could see a little bit of paternal impatience, I guess, with Patrick Bailey. He said he had a conversation with him and said that he told Patty, "First and foremost, your responsibility is to lead the staff." And he said, "And that's not just framing metrics or how many runners you're throwing out. It's truly to lead the staff. That's where I wanted focus to be." That conversation that Posey had with Bailey is so perfect because here he is. He's a potential Hall of Fame former catcher who knows what it was to lead a staff, a great staff that won 3 World Series, and Bailey must listen to that. Posey said that he had an ask of Bailey this year not to overdo it on framing to the point where pitchers are going to the backstop because he misses it trying to frame it into a strike call. Posey said, quote, "The big thing for me that I've relayed to our catchers is I don't care how you do it or what it looks like, but we want to keep the ball off the backstop." He said, "If there's nobody on base and you're fighting like crazy to present that pitch and it happens, fine. It's a different story, though, if someone's on base and it costs us 90 feet. And the ones that are not fringe pitches, the ones that are clearly balls, I want those caught." Boy, if there was a strong message ever relayed by way of an article, there it is. I hope Patrick Bailey took a look. And that is a thing that Bailey and other catchers have gotten into a habit of, and that is trying so desperately to frame a pitch into a strike that they actually miss the pitch, or the ball goes off their glove because they're trying to cup it and it goes into the backstop, and then you lose 90 feet on that. But even without base runners on, Posey is saying, I want those pitches caught because he wants a clean exchange between pitcher and catcher. That just kind of raises the level of confidence that a pitcher has. And then one last thing that Posey said, that he said he tried to talk to Bailey about, was, you're one of the best in the world at this, but there's so much more to catching than just framing. And that was, that is a message that is strong and important, and it'll be interesting to see. We won't have the ABS system this year, but if Bailey takes that to heart, he will be working on making sure he catches those pitches. I do need to take a look at the number of wild pitches and pass balls that were called last year, just to see if how much of a problem that was. I just know that from the eye test, that was an issue that I can remember. So that was the whole article that Andrew Baggerly wrote, and Patrick Bailey's complaint about the system, and the idea that he does have support from his pitchers. The pitchers want those strikes. Of course, what about the hitters? Bailey is a hitter. And doesn't he think that he could use that system to his advantage as a hitter? And the article does go on to say that there will be ways for him to continue to manipulate the system, playing against the psychology of hitters by challenging certain pitches, and so it'll be Bailey will continue to be able to use his deceptions and his manipulations of the pitches. He just won't be seen as maybe his rating as a catcher won't be as great. The pitch framing won't be as important to him, and so maybe he'll just become an average catcher, and we'll see other attributes of catchers rising to the top as in terms of who gets the Gold Glove awards. Okay. I do want to have a word on this Jackie Robinson craziness out of the Defense Department. It was truly a national outrage when it was announced that the story of Jackie Robinson was erased from the website of the Department of Defense. The outrage was so massive and so sudden that the Defense Department actually returned his story back to the website. But unfortunately, what they did was they wiped out any mention of why Jackie Robinson is a historical figure. They wanted to take out the so-called DEI element of his story, which is absolutely crazy. And it shows that whole campaign against DEI has gotten out of control. But I'm sorry, Jackie Robinson is a historical figure because he broke the color line. His presence in the game is all about baseball finally allowing black players to play. And so if you take out the racial element to this, there is no story. So unfortunately, the Department of Defense continues to give short shrift to his actual story. They say that they restored his story because of his patriotism serving the war effort. But his story of being the black player to break the color line is the point, is the story. I do recommend a column written by the San Francisco Chronicle's Scott Osler on this. He has just a wonderful way of criticizing this move on the part of the Department of Defense in a very clever way. So definitely would recommend Scott Osler's piece. Okay, that's all I have for today. Thank you for tuning in to Sacramento's Curveball and Changeups with me, your host, Steve Harmon. You can find Sacramento's Best Baseball Podcast on Spotify and wherever else you can listen to podcasts. Until next time, lay off the slider away.